allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. We're all here, so this meeting is in order. Public comment. Is there any public comment on the room? I'll ask you to speak on items that are not related to the agenda. If it's related to agenda, I will ask you to speak to that item when that agenda item comes through. I'll appreciate if you keep your comments to 3 minutes. I will not cut you off, but I will respectfully ask you to begin wrapping. So are there any public comments in the room? Wrapping being not musical wrapping, but rather wrapping up. Are there any comments online? All right, moving on. Item 3, consent agenda. These are items that are routine, non-controversial items we act in board and one time without discussion. Any board member requests that an item be removed for later discussion. Anybody would like to pull an item?
Yes. I'd like to pull the item on the management confidential unit.
All right, item 3C has been pulled for discussion. Is there any public comment on its consent agenda? Any online? Seeing none online, none in the room.
Move for acceptance.
Move for acceptance of the remainder.
Yeah, 3A, 3B, and 3D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Item 3C, approval of memorandum of understanding with the management and confidential unit. Russ?
Well, President Jack, the reason that I pulled this was not because I have any objections to it. It's just quite the contrary. I'm very proud of the way that this agreement came together. It needs to be acknowledged that that's what collective bargaining is all about. I'm very, very pleased with the outcome, and we were always held to the kind of the prevailing standard around here about transparency, and I didn't want to gloss over this 5-year agreement, which has been executed, and it needs to be. If anybody has any, I don't know, negative comments about it, this is a time to hear them. But I'm, for one, very, very pleased about it. So that's.
Anybody else like to speak to this item before Michael reports out on it? Any other questions? Or Michael, do you want to?
Yeah, I appreciate you pulling it, Director Thomas. I just want to express my gratitude for the management confidential unit. These things are never easy. There's always compromise involved, but just really appreciate how professionally that this was handled. And I think we arrived at a good outcome where it's really critical for the district to remain competitive in the labor market and at the same time be financially responsible with the resources that we have. And I think we've struck that balance here. So just appreciate the management unit for the collaboration on this.
I'd like to add my voice to with Russ and really thank the management unit. Anytime you come up with a 5-year agreement, that's remarkable. And I think it shows great partnership with our staff, and I appreciate it. Anybody else?
I just want to also thank the management unit. I think what's really important is that I think there's a recognition of the limitations of our population and the struggle that everybody's going through. And I think it was a fair deal for everybody. And I think the public should be very appreciative of the deal as well. So thank you again.
Yeah, I don't need to go on, and I will echo my fellow board members' responses to this item. And I really do appreciate the negotiating process and the outcome.
Exactly the same way. Thank you for pulling it, Russ.
Okay.
Outstanding. So with no further ado, would you like to make any public comment on this item? Jesse?
Good afternoon.
Probably wants to object or something.
Yes. No, thank you guys. Thank you, Michael, Jeff. negotiations never fun. It's one of those things that rate studies, negotiations, none of it's never fun. But we appreciate being here. We appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate everything that you guys do too. So.
I'd just like to
Thank you.
acknowledge the district's team was clear and open and honest with us, and we're able to develop a kind of a rapport. Like Jesse said, none of this is ever tough, but we developed that kind of working relationship, and we have a rapport with each other right from the outset. And so we were able to kind of work through some of the more challenging aspects in a candid, professional way because we trust each other. And I just want to highlight that. So thank you to your team.
Yeah, appreciate that a lot. Both of you guys really, really appreciate that.
There is mutual respect without question.
And that means a lot. And I do just want to acknowledge Jeff Bailey's here from IEDA, really, really helpful for the district. And Stacy, who's not here, who is kind of the I don't know, unsung hero, I guess. So just want to really, really express my gratitude for the team as well. Thank you, Jesse and Dan.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to approve this memorandum of understanding with the management and confidential unit, item C3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Again, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 4, new business. I am going to use the chair's discretion to change up the order of these. We will go 4D, 4C, and then 4A. So is there any objection from the board for changing up the order? Very well, thank you. We'll move on to 4D, discussion, direction regarding possible transition of sewer service revenues to county property tax roll.
I thought we were doing 4C first, so let me just get there.
Okay.
Be 1 minute.
I recognize we changed things up, so if we got to reshuffle, I get it.
So I think actually I could still start with kind of there's a couple of overarching points with both of these items. So I think obviously, what we're getting at is changing billing structure or billing methodology as ways to address, confusion about bills, customer frustration about bills. If there's ways that we can change our billing practices to ease the burden on ratepayers, that's a priority. And I think of the options in these two items, really, I think the direction we go in depends on which priority, which of those things we choose to prioritize over another, because, we can look, if we focus on, addressing confusion about combined billing, that might lead us to one conclusion versus, making sure that the lump sum payment that customers see in any given month isn't as big and easing budgeting constraints for customers. So that's one of the considerations here that's true across both of these agenda items, whether we're talking about monthly billing or sewer rates on the tax roll. I think for the way that we're going about this right now, we put some, we've talked about this item before, we put more information in the staff report. I'm going to kind of give a high level overview, but Kelly, both of the Kellys, Kelly Z and Kelly G, Dylan and Monica, as of 3 weeks now, a month. This is kind of the team that has been really focused on these things. They have information where they may want to chime in too. But basically for sewer rates on the tax roll, the question really is, do we want to try to make that transition? If we do, it should be on a July 1st, not next week. So July 1st, 27 would be the earliest that we could do it. And I think in previous meetings, we've laid out the steps that we would have to take to get there. And we know we would need approval from the County Board of Supervisors. And a lot of customer outreach and education along the way. I think really the biggest consideration from a staff perspective is the cash flow question. You know, we would go from receiving income on the sewer enterprise every month to receiving all of our sewer enterprise income twice a year for the most part. And so going, you know, our average monthly expenses for the sewer fund are about $700,000 a month. So getting through that, those periods where we're not receiving any income, especially in that first year, is the cash flow management challenge that we have. And I think one of the important points to make today is, you know, we know we don't have the ability right now to borrow from the water fund for this. We think there is a way to do inter-fund transfers within the sewer enterprise to meet the cash flow need. The more work needs to be done on that, so we're not planning to present that in detail here today. We're optimistic that there's a way, but we're not certain yet. And so, you know, we've new team in the admin services department, and we still have, you know, a lot going on there. So a lot of, you know, still more work that needs to be done there before we can be certain about the cash flow question. But I think that's basically the approach that we would take, would be borrowing from reserves within the sewer fund and then paying that back as the revenue is received. And then I think the other, point that applies to both this item and the monthly billing item is just overall, you know, staff bandwidth is a challenge for us still. We have been fortunate to hire great people with a great team. But you know, our most senior person in terms of longevity in the admin services department, I think, is 4 years now, 3 or 4 years. And a lot of people that have just been here since January or more recent than that even. So still a lot of getting up to speed, dealing with current ongoing billing challenges and other customer service issues. This is a lot. This would be a huge undertaking. And there's the timing is a challenge, I think, from a staffing perspective. And then also timing of, you know, how that impacts the customer when we have we're talking about changes to the billing structure. And then, you know, in the next fiscal year 28, we'll be budgeting for a cost of service study. We'll be doing a new rate study. That'll be the last of the scheduled rate increases. So, you know, I think and feel free to disagree, as we've talked about already. I think I can speak for the team that's been working on this, at least, that, you know, the staff preference would be to wait until July 1st, 28 before we make any major changes to billing structure and incorporate and then we have the ability, it gives us more flexibility if we incorporate that in the rate study as well. But that's, you know, that's a question for the board. So if the board's direction is to you know, get it done in this coming fiscal year, like I said, we still have some obstacles that we need to work through, and we'll report back on, but we'll do what we can to make it happen.
Just talking about
Sewer.
Sewer on the tax roll, right? So putting all of our sewer charges on the tax roll is what we're talking about. So there are, as with pretty much everything we do here, there are a lot of layers to it, and it's the devil's in the details, and it's more complicated than that. But that's, you know, just kind of the high level range of considerations. And so I don't know if I'm probably missing things that we have, other things that we've talked about. Feel free, guys, if you want to chime in on anything, but also just happy to take questions from the board on this as well.
Huh?
I don't have any real questions on this. I just want to provide a timeline of how long this has been studied, discussed already. Michael and I have been talking about this for at least 2 years, and most likely goes back maybe even 3 years. In San Diego, last December, Jack and I, at the Aqua Conference, met with Michael, and reviewed these two things. Okay, we came to him, said that we'd like to do these two things. We'd like monthly billing of our water bill and get rid of our wastewater. And the main thing this would do, it would help out our customers. It's difficult to do. This is not for help out staff. This is going to be hard. It's going to be difficult to do. It's the county is already pushing back. It's going to be an extra step for them. But who it will help out is our customers. It will help our poorest of the poor, who receive these huge bills right now, bi-monthly. Every other month they receive, some of our customers receive a water and wastewater bill that's in excess of $600 every single. This is 6 times a year. That is difficult to handle. If you read comments, you listen to our rate studies. We've sat through 2 rate studies here of people walking down this aisleway. Hundreds of people come to this room and tell us that's the exact same thing. We haven't done anything. We haven't done anything for 10 years and since I've been here, and this will solve the majority of that problem. The people who make the least amount of money, the people who are affected most by our bills, these CCWD bills, and this is one of the reasons why CCWD has a poor reputation on social media. And if you listen and dig into those comments that are made daily, it's about this huge bill. Even we send out a survey asking questions on something totally different, and the comments we get are on this high bill. We can help out those customers who are affected the most, and it's not going to be easy. I can see why there's pushback and delay from staff to implement this. It would be easier if we did it in 5 years. It gives us plenty of time. A lot of times to kick the can down the road. We don't need that. We're talking about over a year of some very, very highly qualified, intelligent staff, intelligent workers that can figure this out. I have total faith in, and I don't want to give direction on how it's done, but just that it would really love to see that it gets done, and I'm I mean, obviously, I'm in favor of moving this as quickly as possible. And July 1st, 27 is still a long time. It's over a year away right now to figure out how to do this and exactly what needs to be done. There is a bunch of steps. We need a resolution from this board. We don't have one prepared yet. And it's, again, 2 or 3 years down the road, and we still don't have and here we are talking about it again for at least the 3rd time amongst these 5 board members. And I think we've talked about it before with another board. We've had plenty of time to discuss this, but I think it's time to get something done on it.
I don't think there's been anything that's been brought before this board that I've opposed greater than this. I don't understand how increasing somebody's annual cost is going to benefit our poorest families. I don't understand how that works. The county's already said that we would have to pay them to oversee this. The other part that concerns me is we have $700,000 a year coming in, or a month coming in. I mean, we don't pay on an annual basis our bills. Our bills have to be paid every month or at some, I mean, we don't pay them once a year, so I'm concerned about that. The other thing that it is not saving anybody any money. I see the catastrophe of the poorest people in our county who own homes all of a sudden having a foreclosure crisis because they didn't plan at the end of the year. I think that's a very real possibility. This reminds me of the time when we decided that we were going to make landlords. We were only going to send bills to landlords, and we had the whole renting community come to us and say, "Hey, I don't want my landlord coming over to my house for the monthly bill." you know, and then, so we finally realized that that was a bad decision and sent dual bills, even though I understand the landlord or the property owner is still the responsible party. At least they're, at least we're not requiring that they make monthly contact at their homes. So, I mean, I just, the other thing I'm concerned about is how do we, like, currently your property, your homeowner's insurance is an escrow account through your mortgage company. How does that work now? So they're gonna collect it every month anyway, through
For
escrow.
people that have that set
People
up.
who own their homes, who we're talking about, everybody that we bill owns something. And so now, if they have a mortgage on it, how is it gonna work that is the escrow company now going to have to, or the mortgage company now is gonna have to add another line item? Because they're not gonna let $400 or $500 go a month and let that accumulate. So how does all that work?
So for customers that have that structure, that impound account,
Majority.
pay
majority
their
of the
property
people that account
taxes.
like that.
If they pay their property tax through that impound account, their mortgage
No,
will be factored into that.
No. What I'm saying is the mortgage company, when you have a mortgage, your homeowner's insurance is in a escrow account that they take out every month. So now are they gonna add our bills to that? So it's this exact same thing.
Right.
So they're just gonna be paying on their mortgage and not to us. And we won't get the advantage of having the cash to pay our bills on time. So I mean, I have a lot of questions about it. I mean, I think it may take the pressure off of us for a little while. But I mean, I think in the end, it's gonna be catastrophic. And I think a lot of people aren't gonna plan for it. You know, even if the people who don't have mortgages, you know, they're gonna be shocked by their property tax bill. It's gonna be the learning curve that, how many property owners are there in Calvert County that are, I mean, we've got, what, 14,000?
Separate customers.
I mean,
Yeah.
combined and all that stuff. So we're gonna have to go out there and tell everybody that they have to start paying their water bill, not paying it, just gotta pay it a different way.
Right. And when we met
Perhaps
with
at
the
the end
tax
of the year,
collector,
which would be, you know, what are we talking, $3,000?
It's,
Well, I mean, I think it's well intended, and I appreciate the sentiment of getting the pressure off of us, but it's not saving anybody a nickel. It's gonna cost more, it's gonna cost us more. And then I don't think in the end, the public is really gonna want this. So I'm 100% opposed to moving forward with this. The monthly billing, we'll talk about that later. I mean, I'm ready to go, but this, I'll never vote for it.
Everett?
I agree with you in terms of you end up paying the same amount of money one way or the other. I don't think, if you got a mortgage, using my bank as an example, I'd basically get a bill for my mortgage cost, my insurance cost, and my tax cost all at once. So that's how I assume it would work for everyone, and just get added to that amount. I know we've gone out, Scott and I and your team have worked on a survey. It'd be interesting to see what our customers feel about this. It's just, as Kelly, has it gone out yet? Or, yeah. So, and I don't know if we're seeing any results, but if people came back and it was pretty clear, yeah, we'd love it to be on the tax roll, it would have my strong support to be on the tax roll. I worry about the cash flow issue. It sounds like we could work through that. I like that it just takes one bill away from our customers. They're now paying a single bill on their mortgage, and they don't have that extra bill to worry about. That does make it a little easier.
What bill are they not gonna pay?
Yeah, let's let Jeff finish this.
It gets rolled into the monthly payment to the bank for most people in this county. Anyone that has a mortgage, that's how it's going to work.
so just on that point, real quick, I don't want to interrupt, but because we just to share some information, because we met with the tax collector on this, I was surprised to learn that only about half of the property owners in Calaveras County have mortgages on their property. We haven't yet. We're trying to find a way to drill down and see if that holds. I suspect the percentage is probably higher people with mortgages in our service areas as opposed to countywide, but we still need to look into that. But it is also true. We've talked to a few people who have mortgages that don't pay their property tax through the mortgage. So there are multiple ways to do it. I think most people do. What you're describing, I think, applies to most people, but not everybody.
And if it's just the sewer bill and it comes as a payment, I don't know how often their tax bill, we get every 6 months, we get a reimbursement. Do they pay their tax bill? If they don't have a mortgage every 6 months, it would be
Yes.
like just over roughly $1,000 more, which on a tax bill, I don't know, my thinking would be, let's wait and see what the public feels about it. If they don't feel strongly about it, this isn't an issue that I feel so strongly about either way. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
I frequently disagree with my colleague Jeff Davidson, but I'm in total agreement with you on this. What crossed my mind is that we have the word affordability is bandied about, and every time you turn on the TV or the radio, affordability. And I'm thinking about the first-time home buyer in Calaveras County. I mean, this conceivably, if you added this to their tax bill, it could either disqualify them for a mortgage or make it unaffordable, in many ways for them to fund this. I'm in total agreement with the putting the monthly billing for both the water and the sewer. That would, in my mind, eliminate 95% of the objections to the big bill that you get every other month. But when I heard mentioned just a moment ago about the county says, "Oh, well, wait a minute, if we do this for you, we're going to have to charge you for it." Well, we already get charged 1% for the bills that go over on the teeter fund, and I could see that this could be much larger. So I don't know. It's really, what is that phrase about penny wise and pound foolish? So I don't like it.
Right. My opinion is I agree with Scott. I think that this is important. I think this will make it better. I recognize and I thank Kelly and Michael and Scott for sitting down and going through the cash flow. This is a heavy lift. No two ways about it. We can do hard things, and this is a hard thing, but we can do it. We can figure out the money. I think it's for this board to make the policy decision. We say we're going to take that mountain, they'll figure out how to climb it. And so I also think that it's healthy for this organization in the long run. Right now with the teeter funds, if you're late, we're going to send you to the county. It's the same thing. So in many ways, this secures our payments. When we have increasing delinquencies going up, if people start moving out, we lose money as the finance committee has gone through. We lose money if we're not on the tax roll. We may not be caught in escrow, and we're going to be the ones left holding the bill. So it secures our financial future. We're already getting benefits for the fact that we use teeter. You could argue that we've taken as much benefit as we can as far as lower rates for borrowing money in the future because it's secured by a tax roll. We've already got part of that. I would argue without evidence that we'll get even better if it's tied directly. So I stand in support of this. And I would like, we'll have some public comment, but at the end of this discussion, we need to go or no go. And that's the question that's going to be put towards the board. Now, at any point in this process, if we find out that this is impossible, I would expect staff to come back and let us know. And we'll discuss that. So it's not a tattoo. It's not permanent. We could think about this thing for a little while, but we need to start going if this is what we want to do. So with that, I'll open this to public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online?
I still have a couple comments I'd like to make.
I'll bring it back to the board for discussion.
Yeah, I want to get back to the notifying mortgage lenders. How do we do that?
If those are all things that they're gonna have to figure out. We don't know the answer to 90% of the questions.
Last time I heard about our staff was they have too much on their plate right now. I mean, you say it's a heavy lift, but you know, I mean, Scott says that you guys have been discussing this for a long period of time. I mean, I don't think I've been involved in any significant discussions about this, you know, and I mean, I think we're gonna have the entire landlord group is gonna show up here again and have a lot of questions about how they recover are they just gonna add another $300 a month to the rent? I mean, I don't know what landlord wouldn't do that. They want that money up front. They're not gonna wait, you know, because talk about getting caught, you know, later. And to your point, let me ask this question. If a house is foreclosed on and it has a debt of the water sewer bill, don't we recover that at the sale?
Not if it's not listed on the escrow, not if it's not good, not if it's not listed.
No,
it's
but
not caught.
we do put it. I mean, we do put them on the tax roll.
We do have to, if they're delinquent, but you're gonna be sitting out at least a year without payments before we even send it to the county. So
Well,
you want to know?
Yeah, I don't know what the latest is, but I mean, it's a relatively small amount, but we do have a bad debt discharge that gets lost in transaction like that.
But if a house is sold, and I mean, we should have that. We should be on record of there being a debt, just like a tax lien. And we're not.
We're not. No, that's part of the problem. This would alleviate that problem. It would be on the tax rate. We would recover it. There's that gap there's bad debt that we do recover through the TEETR program.
I mean, how much?
How much? That's growing exponentially. What the TEETR program amount, the dollar amount over the past 4 or 5 years has grown. I think it's doubled since 2020 at least.
The TEETR program, the delinquencies have increased, but we recover 99% of that.
But we're losing it on sales, and that's what this would help out.
Right. So there's a small amount that we lose at times when we don't recover in escrow. We've talked to title companies about that in the past. But you know, a lot of times those transactions happen without us.
The TEETR amount will be less. That 1% that Russ brought up, that 1% will be less. The TEETR program won't be as robust. The dollar amount on it, if everything was moved to the property tax, we'd have higher collection rates. Absolutely, and we'd have lower administrative costs. We'd have predictable cash flow to Jack's point, and the charges would stay with the property. We definitely would have a reduced bad debt ratio.
Yeah, I mean, currently our charges are with the property. The administrative costs would probably go up, but it's not a significant difference, I don't think. But the 1% would probably remain constant with shifting all of it to the tax roll. And so the 1% of all of our sewer rates would go to the county.
And I'm going to guess, I don't know exactly what we don't have any information from staff on that, but Tyler charges us something for sending out a sewer bill. And if we went forward separating it, what would that charge be? That's what we're avoiding. And fine, we'll be paying it to the county. But there's a charge for envelopes and stamps and mailing. And there's a time, the time to get it back. We've had problems with sending out bills. This would alleviate all of those problems. Most sewer districts, from my little bit of looking into it online, most California wastewater utilities use the tax roll because they can. It makes sense. We don't have to send out bills 12 times a year, 6 times a year, whatever it is. We're avoiding that entire process, and we're paying somebody else to. The cash flow problem is not going to be a cash flow problem. We had a meeting last week to go through that. There are funds that we can borrow from without going outside. We do have the money in-house. And to Jeff's point, that rents would go up. Rents are not driven by expenses. Every landlord can't increase the rent on every single tenant because their expenses go up. That's based on supply and demand. And everybody knows that. You cannot just raise your rent because you got to put a new roof on your place. You're not going to charge your tenant for that. Your expenses go up. It's just part of doing business.
So we're gonna disincentivize. We have one of the lowest percentage of rental rates. I think we're at around 3% in the entire state. So now we're gonna incentivize the rental market.
Which for that reason right there is why rents are not going to go up. Our landlords need tenants in their property.
I have 4 units that are all have taxes that we pay our sewer through Moke Hill Sanitary, which is on the tax roll. To Scott's point, it's supply and demand. You, of course, as a landlord, you want to pass it through, but that's what the market can bear or can't bear. But it's expense. It's eventually the landlord's responsibility for the sewer bill, ultimately, no matter what. So this is going to be our first split vote and myself as chair. So let's call the question.
Understand that it's not an action item, right? We're just giving, this is not an action item.
Well, I'd like
to,
direction,
I'd like
discussion,
to-
direction. I think we need to give direction because if we're not going to do this, we need to get the staff take their foot off the accelerator.
I'd like to make a motion that we move this item to that we move our sewer bill to the tax rolls effective July 1st, 2027.
For a second? I will second it. All right,
Okay,
Madam Clerk, will you call the,
on the question, please.
yes,
Jeff brought up the issue of the survey. Is this, when do we expect the survey responses to come in?
We're still waiting. I think we'll probably bring it back to the External Relations Committee once we are able to, pull that information together and provide feedback because it was not just about this, it was also about monthly billing. So we'll probably bring that back to External Relations Committee.
I don't know. I mean, being on the External Relations Committee, I don't know, we're not meeting till September, so
Yeah, that's a good point. So we could bring it back sooner potentially. Yeah, we don't have to wait that long.
we have a motion and a second on the table. We need to process that or suspend it and come back to discussion. So do we want to continue discussion or should we just act on this thing?
I'm going to abstain until I see the results from the survey. I feel it would be the fact that we've gone out to ask people's opinions, but then we're not going to take them into consideration.
I saw the discussion that you guys had on the survey. And if we're going to base this upon public opinion, I would like it to be a much more comprehensive and independent survey. And maybe has some scientific base, asking people if they want to pay a bill. They're going to say no.
We don't know if they were renters. We don't know if they were landlords.
We don't know anything about
We
it.
don't even know if they're customers.
So I mean, if this vote's gonna hinge on that survey, then, okay, we'll have some direct democracy. But let's make sure we all consent to what that survey is asking, how it's designed and where it goes out to.
Still stand on what I say. I mean, I'll tell you, quite frankly, I lean towards having it go on the tax rolls. It makes sense to me overall. That said, if we can get at least an interim response on the survey, say 2 meetings from now, 1 month from now, I'd give you a thumbs up or thumbs down.
We have a motion second. Call the vote.
Director Robertson,
Staying.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Davidson, Director Thomas,
No.
President Garamendi.
Yes, so I don't know whether I guess that fails. That's where we are. Jeff, let us know if you want us to bring it back on the agenda.
I'd suggest 1 month from now, we bring it up for a vote again.
Do that.
Can I just ask one final question about the survey? I didn't see it. I'm sure it was probably emailed to me on my org site, was it? Russ
No,
didn't see it.
we didn't email
I
it.
saw it online and all I read was comments, which were, quit charging us so damn much. Pretty much 99%. So we agreed with Jack that if we're gonna do this, we need like just that question. Because I mean, I don't know what the three questions were. I heard that earlier that they said there was three questions. What were they?
So the three questions ended up being really simple. Do you want monthly billing for water? Do you want monthly billing for sewer, or monthly billing for tax roll billing for sewer? And it wasn't either or, it was, do you want that? Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no.
Yes, no, or NA. There was three different,
Right.
so if you didn't have water, it would be NA.
So, yeah, and I think, the part of that discussion in the External Relations Committee, because that was handled through that committee, was, I think we could anticipate that some of the comments were going to be, we just want lower rates. But this was really more trying to get at billing frequency preferences.
That's another point that if a committee decides to make a statement or put something out, that the entire board should have at least a heads up. No committee has the authority to come up with an independent statement and have the board support. That's not how it works.
I don't think the board has a say on day-to-day decisions at staff. This was not the
You
committee.
don't,
This was not the
and two
committee.
of us do not.
Jeff, this was not the committee's decision to do a survey. Staff decided to do a survey and showed us got feedback for the questions that they were going to send out. We commented on the questions and then staff sent it out. It was not a committee that did it, and it's not.
Who gives the staff the direction?
Okay,
No committee gave staff direction to send a survey. No.
Why do we have that?
gentlemen,
Why have the gentlemen?
we voted on this.
A lot of other.
Gentlemen,
stuff.
we voted on this item. We could talk more about it under the next item on the survey, since I'm sure that's going to come up. Goes 2-0. That's a fail. So there we go. 2-1, excuse me.
I wouldn't classify it as a fail. It's just, we need more information.
Well, staff shouldn't be working on this without direction of the board. Let's go on to the next item. Monthly billing.
So similar kind of approach to this item where, I'm going to kind of talk through it a little bit. We have other people here that can provide input on it as well. But really, I think, we tried to, there's a lot of different ways to do monthly billing. None of them are as simple as we would like, but we really tried to focus in on these two options that we laid out in the staff report and provide detail on those two options. And hopefully it helps give a more kind of tangible set of options to consider. And again, I think what I keep coming back to, and please feel free to disagree with me or provide other direction, but it seems like the two priorities we're addressing here are that bill shock issue of a big lump sum bill every other month, especially for combined water sewer customers. And then the other issue is the confusion that we continue to run up against because of the combined bill, where people are confused about what they're being billed for. We hear a lot, Kelly can tell you, people complaining about how big their monthly water bill is, when really it's a bi-monthly sewer bill and water. So they're really paying for two different services and four, separate charges that are rolled up into that one bill. But that gets shortened to, and understandable, people are not really spending a lot of time trying to dissect this. They just see that large dollar amount, and it causes a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration. So addressing that confusion is one priority, and reducing that bill shock is the other. Both of these do that to some extent. If the bill shock issue is the highest priority, the second option is, I think, the better of the two. And that option, well, let me actually back up a minute. The first option is, I'll have to get resituated here again. Separate water and sewer charges in alternating months. So this is not actually monthly billing, but it puts all water bills in one cycle that would still be bi-monthly, and it puts all sewer bills in the opposite cycle that would still be bi-monthly. So no customer is hit with a combined water and sewer bill in any 1 month. And so you can see in the staff report how that plays out. 1 month it would just be a water bill. The next month it would just be a sewer bill. And that, I think, was the most effective way to lower in the any given month's monthly amount. I think and then at the other alternative, this was monthly water and sewer bill charges that are both, so they're both monthly. One thing that's really important that we have to kind of be clear about from the outset, we can't go monthly for our consumptive charges on water until we do a new cost of service study. There's Prop 218 issues there. So we can go monthly with the base rate, which is about 75% of the charge for most of our water customers. But we can't go monthly for consumption until we go through another rate study. So what we can separate out the base rate, that's most of it. And
Why is that?
we'd have to alter the consumptive tiers and change the formula for how we pay for the service. And changing cost of service is something we have to be really careful about and should be done through a new rate study. So we've tried to limit the options to options that we can implement without having to go through a rate study any sooner than we're already going to have to, which is in 27,
Not
28.
really changing. It's just changing the timing of the billing rather than the actual rate in any way. So
So
I
right
guess I
now
would question that.
the structure is based on a bi-monthly consumptive tier.
Good.
You get up to the 1,500 cubic feet in that first tier over 2 months. So we would have to find a way, we would have to alter that tier structure,
Understood.
which we can't do without going through another cost of service study.
And legally, we can't do it.
Right. So we can still go to monthly billing for the base rate, which is the majority of the water bill, and monthly billing for the sewer charge, which is the larger bill for most people. And then in the next rate study, we could then revisit monthly consumptive billing also. We just wouldn't be able to do that before then, unless we wanted to do another rate study sooner.
Would we be violating the law if we took that 1,500 and just made it 750 per month? I mean, it's the exact same formula. Monthly, bi-monthly. If it's 1,500 bi-monthly, wouldn't it just stand to reason? And who would argue that 750 per month would be any different?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be considering how litigious Prop 218 is. Prop 218 litigation has just gone through the roof. We have a partner agency here in Calaveras County that is faced with refunding ratepayers significant amounts of money because of a technicality in a rate structure change. And so I think we should be really cautious about altering consumptive tiers. I think
The other new law that is passed on 218 is that it would have to be brought up during the process that we're doing this change, wouldn't it?
So if we were to, and honestly, yeah, that kind of gets to I think the underlying recommendation from staff in general is any of these options, it would be the best timing would be during that rate study. So we can really, we're not limited to the options that we can consider. We don't run any risk of running afoul of 218. And even if you don't run afoul, 218's become like CEQA, right? You don't have to violate CEQA to get sued and pay a huge amount of money, have significant consequences for it. So we just want to be really cautious, I think, when it comes to 218. And so I think the timing, both in terms of where we're at staff wise and the options that we have and the ability to implement those options, that next cost of service study would probably be the best timing. We tried to focus in on the options that we could do even sooner than that. One of the challenges to consider there from the customer standpoint is we may be making a change now and then making another change when we do the cost of service study. And we run the risk there of maybe creating some more confusion or frustration if we are making a lot of changes in successive years to the billing structure. The other thing about option 2 is it doesn't address, it addresses that bill shock issue, but it doesn't address that customer confusion issue about the combined bills. The water and sewer would still be combined. And then we'd have potentially the added explanation of why the consumptive charge is every other month. I think the benefit of that, one of the advantages of that is it definitely sends a consumption signal to customers. So there's a price signal that because their base rate for water and the base and the sewer rate are going to be the same every month, and every other month they're going to see exactly what their consumptive charge is. So it may get customers to focus a little bit more on water consumption because it really kind of makes that stand out a little bit more. But there would still be it would still be a combined bill. And so we'd still have some confusion on that front.
Hopefully that will only be for a month, and then Jeff will get his survey questions answered and we can move forward with the other proposal.
We got 2 options, option 1 and option 2 that are put before. We can modify those. I'm working on the assumption that this is something the board wants to do. Anybody who objects to doing something like this? I don't see any. So what we should ask ourselves is, do we want to go with option 1 or option 2? Seems straightforward.
And I also just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything because I know there's a lot of other technical details and other stuff that we've talked about. So feel free to chime in. And
this is mostly a policy decision. We're telling you, take the hill. You'll figure out how to climb it. Kelly, would you like to add anything to that?
Just have details about the implications of the different policies.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. I mean, either one of these items, I think will take significant public outreach. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a heavy lift to do the public outreach, a super important component of it. I just want to make you all aware. I mean, the next rate study is going to start in less than 13 months. And so, the way I'm trying to look at the big picture is doing a lot of this outreach, having something maybe implemented right at the start of a rate study. I kind of suggest having it be a part of that rate study. So we're doing that communication once. I mean, for those of us who were here during the rate study, we realized, we learned a lot from that. I know I did, as far as how important it is to get out there ahead of time and do that proper public outreach. So I'm kind of seeing a lot of public outreach up until the rate study, and then we start the rate study. And I don't want to confuse the community either with all these different changes between now and then. So I just think it's one thing to think about. We will be starting that rate study very, very soon.
Option 1 or option 2?
I think option 2 is much better.
I agree.
Got a motion?
Yeah.
And this is to get going at this, right?
Second.
I mean, I feel like we're
second.
on first 10, trying to push it off. We have a motion and a second for option 2.
Also to go ASAP, is part of my motion.
All right, there's do
was
you
that?
accept do you accept the
Go
amendment,
as soon-
Jeff?
Just start as soon as possible.
Get going.
Get going.
Let's
Not to
stop.
delay.
Let's just go. Jeff, do you accept that?
Yeah.
Changes? Anybody have any more comments? Any public comment on this item? Public comment online? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Carries 5-0.
Okay, we'll get to work on it. We will report back. This was kind of quickly put together. So we still are talking to Tyler about the technical challenges here. And, we still have details that we need to run to ground, and we'll report back to the board if we run across any issues, and we'll bring a timeline back as well.
Run it to the ground. I mean, we don't want to punt on first and 10.
And Chair Garamendi, I'd like to request that the item that we just discussed, the tax roll item, the agenda item, be brought back. Do we need a month?
No, I'm not sure I want to bring that back until Mr. Robertson has the information that he needs.
I was hoping that.
So when he says he's got enough information to cast a vote, and I think it's time to bring it back. But I don't want to argue this over and over again
Yeah,
We can
do it
and
later.
Director Robertson, if you want to, we can meet offline and talk through any information needs that you have. I'm happy to do that.
Right now, the
No
project
later
is
than a
stopped.
month from now.
When did the survey close?
It's still out. And
How
I
long is
think-
it gonna be going?
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the things, wasn't a set end date.
We've completed that item. We're not going back and talking about that. Let's move on to item 4A, discussion action approval to update the district's risk and resilience assessment.
Good afternoon, President Garamendi, directors. Before you in your packet is an update to the district's risk and resilience assessment, otherwise known as an RRA. An RRA is a requirement of part of America's Water Infrastructure Act of 2018. The AWIA requires systems that serve more than 3,300 people to prepare and certify an RRA. The purpose of the RRA is to identify risks to water systems and the continuity of service to evaluate options to reduce those impacts to facilities, operations, and customers. So this is a 5-year update. The last one we did was in 2021. This update transforms findings from an updated risk matrix into recommendations for future mitigation strategies. Excuse me. So you have cybersecurity, wildfire, post-wildfire resilience, seismic, physical security enhancements, et cetera. So it's no surprise that wildfire is like the top when it comes to risk for CCWD. Then we take these mitigation strategies and turn them into a roadmap for an implementation schedule. So part of the RRA, this executive summary has an implementation schedule, which is a recommendation. A lot of these actions we're already pursuing, namely IT/OT relationship within this upcoming fiscal year's budget. So the ask is that the board approve this update to the RRA and authorize our consultant, Jeff Cooley Consulting, to submit the update to the US EPA on CCWD's behalf.
Move for acceptance.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Is there any public comment online? All right, any further discussion from the board?
This is a federal requirement to do this?
That's correct.
Does it also check any state requirements?
I would say yes.
Is it redundant?
Yes, yeah.
Is it redundant?
Well, I haven't seen any links to something that's required of the state. I can tell you though that there are emergency response plans which are associated with each of our water and sewer systems that this will tie into directly. So what will happen after y'all approve this, then Cooley will set up an emergency response plan for those facilities. And then at the end of all of that, we'll have a tabletop exercise and we'll just pick an issue. Could be a cybersecurity issue, wildfire, what have you. And then we'll bring all kinds of responsible players into the room here, fire departments, county, whatnot, and we'll run through a scenario. So we do tick a lot of boxes associated with risk associated with water and treatment and wastewater treatment. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That seems thorough. As I go through, it looks like a lot of the stuff has already been done. It's like, for instance, I'm looking at cyber security on page 14, short-term priorities. It looks like, are those additional enhancements, Dylan, or are they actually things we're already doing? Full network segmentation, that's done, as I understand.
Some of these were yet to do, like, yeah, multi-factors there, but like, if you think SCADA vulnerability assessment and patching program, we'll need to do that. There are a couple things in here, but definitely Dylan and his team have done a heck of a lot already.
Okay, and it just struck me, is this something that's going through multiple regions? On page 11, there's this ION worker check-in app. That's ours? Or is that ION?
That's the loan, like a loan worker. That could be a typo there.
Oh,
Loan worker check. So what we do now,
I was reading it like, oh, look, we've got a multi-county
yeah,
thing and that one slipped in. Got it. My mistake.
yeah, and just so you know, what we do now is like when staff is on call, the protocol is it's like 2 a.m. and they're by themselves and they're going to check on X,
A real risk.
man down policy. Yeah.
Get in
Yeah.
an accident and you have
Yeah.
something very serious.
So
I guess
they'll-
the only thing in terms of risk that I don't see on here is like we had up in Arnold where we get really heavy snowfalls and it's knocking over trees, which are pulling up 6-inch mains. And not that it needs to be there, but that seems to have been one of our most costly risks this last year.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely incorporate that into, I can see an opportunity for that with extended power outage or landslide, mudslide, and we can kind of roll that into that for sure.
Yeah, it's a great risk, a great right up here.
Robert's Rules of Orders is being burned. But since we have a motion, then we did discussion, so we did it opposite, but I think it's still fine. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
4B, Andrew.
Hi, good afternoon, members of the board. Over the past 7 months or so, the district has taken on the task of developing an update to the urban water management plan. For background, the urban water management plan is a 5-year long-term planning document that sets out to assess current and future demands, evaluate supply reliability, and plan for drought, emergencies, and long-term water sustainability over a 20-year planning horizon. On May 27th, 2026, CCWD held a public hearing regarding the draft document of the updated 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. During that public hearing, we accepted public comment, which we incorporated those public comments into what we are now bringing to the board to adopt as the final draft of the plan. In addition to the public hearing, CCWD, under the compliance with the Urban Water Management Planning Act, hosted a public comment period from May 1st to May 31st, which we received written comments. How many here? We received 7 separate comments, submissions from 4 separate entities. The comments, both in combined from the written and the oral public comments from the public hearing, generally coincided around 4 main topics: system water loss conditions, the data that goes into evaluating those system water losses, and the regulatory compliance components of that. Public outreach and transparency, which kind of culminated in a request for more town hall engagement and incorporating various aspects of the district's planning into town hall meetings and so on. Also broader financial concerns that are kind of tangentially related to the very technical data and analysis that's in the urban water management plan, things such as the rates, budgeting, debt service, and capital improvement planning. And then lastly, there were a handful of welcomed comments and edits related to technical accuracy and clarity of the document and so on. Touching on the system water loss conditions, which was mostly or generally speaking, the most technical or more directly related comments to the urban water management plan. One of the primary concerns was related to this concept, or this model parameter called the infrastructure condition factor, which is a parameter that the State Water Resources Control Board uses to provide individual districts with a water loss standard. And we went over this during the public hearing. However, one of the some of the commenters had highlighted this infrastructure condition factor, which the state water board model uses a value of 1 that indicates a undegraded water system, just out of ease of providing the vast amount of water districts with a standard. However, in our urban water management plan, we have discussed about an approach to work with the state water board to adjust our infrastructure condition factor to be more representative of a water system that has in fact likely degraded since its initial installation. Some commenters had indicated that the value that we applied in the urban water management plan was high or maybe not representative. And I would argue that we don't know what that representative number is. It's not our model. So we need to work with the state water board to understand how we would apply that particular component to adjust the standard. So, and for example,
Sorry, Andrew, but did that seem like a reasonable question to you? Because I mean, we do have substantial issues with our miles of pipeline and.
Right. It's certainly an issue that needs to be run to ground and something that needs to be worked through with the State Water Resources Control Board, folks that have their hands on the model and understand the components. Where I think there's some where there's being some conflated issues with the public comments that we received is the actual value itself, where we in the urban water management plan had a value of 2.5 as compared to the default, which is 1. So there's some heartburn in terms of why is it 2.5, where there's some claims that other local districts have this of a 1.2 or 1.4, which we can't verify that, and it doesn't appear so. So I think there's just this: how do you turn the lever of this thing, or turn the knob? And that's something we're going to have to work with the state water board and initiate that process with them. And that is something that we are currently now thinking about in terms of a work plan or a task order, scope of work, excuse me, to kind of wrap our heads around kind of the broad strokes of the water loss issue that are challenges that the district faces in this this particular infrastructure component, and the model and how we get our standard out of that is just a piece of that puzzle. So yeah, as said, we kind of, in our response to these comments, which we provide the matrix in the back, is that the district is committed to refining the understanding of water loss, improving our data and our distribution water system, so we can better target these issues and take these to the state water board and have a candid conversation with them, and think about how we can improve our loss relative to the standard. So another bullet number 4 here was the public outreach and transparency. As mentioned, there was a request for additional town hall type outreach and engagement efforts. However, that goes outside of the scope of updating this document and submitting it to the state of Department of Water Resources. So we have, as mentioned, held the public hearing. We opened a public comment period. We provided initial notifications to all city and county and relative interested agencies. And I think we can consider public town halls moving forward, probably in a broader sense of not specific to the urban water management plan, but other aspects of the district, and we can incorporate in this. But our comment related to the public outreach is that we have met the requirements of the act. Financial concerns. There are several comments related to various aspects of the district's financial matters that are generally outside of the scope of the urban water management plan. I will say the urban water management plan is tangentially a decision-making tool. It can be, and it is required if you want to go after state grants or loans. So there is a financial, indirect financial aspect to the urban water management plan, but the document itself and the material that's in the document are much more technical in terms of, does the district have the supplies to meet the demands? That's effectively the bottom line. And over that 20-year that 20-year horizon, which includes things like climate change and so on. And the water loss is included in that because it's considered a demand. So our general comment or our comment related to the financial concerns is that there may be financial implications in terms of decision-making from the district. However, the urban water management plan as required by the state is not a financially a document that provides financial analysis in terms of how the CIP is developed or how the budget is developed or how the rate structure is administered. Technical accuracy and clarity, as I mentioned, there are several comments related to editorial and typographical errors, including an erroneous appendix, an issue with an Excel formatted table. We got those rectified, and they are now all the typographical errors and functional components of the document have been rectified in the final draft. All of the comments that we have received have been categorized and included in a matrix, similar to how one would go about doing a CEQA EIR document with a comment number, commenter, date, received, a reference, and a response from the district. In addition, this district has posted the final draft of the urban water management plan and the water shortage contingency plan on the website, along with the public draft, so folks can go in and see both and see where things were changed. Upon adoption of the plan and conclusion of the resolution, we will append those resolutions to the final drafts, and we'll get these things submitted on July 1st of the year.
Thank you. Any public comment, questions? Any online? Bring it back to the board to discussion. Any questions?
Acceptance of both.
We have a motion,
Okay.
a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Reports. Kelly.
Good afternoon. Apologize, Director Ratterman and Robertson. Some of this stuff will be redundant from the External Relations Committee that was just last week. We had External Relations Committee last on June 15th. I thought it was a great meeting. We did talk about doing a video. The Director Robertson directed me to look into doing either a few short videos or maybe more of a long form video, like 8 to 10 minutes over different aspects of CCWD. So I'm looking into that right now.
Particular why our rates are the way they are. So, I mean, that's the most common upsetting question we kind of get. So you've got a great story to tell. You do it when you go publicly. So that anyway.
So yeah, that's definitely something I'm working on right now. In that meeting, I also reported out that on June 3rd, I attended the CAL FIRE Central Valley Incident Management Team training. It was down in Modesto at their training center. And this training basically mimicked the Darby fire. They called it the Powerhouse Fire because it started right above Collierville Powerhouse and followed that same footprint as the Darby fire. And it was the whole incident command management There was an accelerated, so I mean, it was a 1-day training, but they accelerated a several day incident into 1 day. But, it was all the different components of when the incident command would take over a incident like that. It was quite remarkable. I have to say, when I did show up, I was one of the only ones not in a nice blue CAL FIRE uniform. I had my CCWD plaid shirt on, so I stuck out like a sore thumb, but a really great event. Also on May 30th, we did the Forest Meadows HOA Town Hall. I thought that was a great one. They're asking now for some tours to come out of it. There was about 20, 25 people there, I would say, really well attended. It was about a 2.5-hour meeting. The general manager who really organized this, one thing she sent a very nice email saying how much she appreciated it and she wanted to put something in their newsletter to capture everything we went over. She said she didn't know if she could do that because we covered so much ground. But one thing she also mentioned to me that she was a little disappointed with several of the folks that really pushed to have this meeting, that, she actually changed the date around to accommodate these folks that really wanted to, speak to CCWD. They didn't even show up to the meeting. But, the attendance that was there was great. And even after that 2.5 hours, several folks still stuck around while I was cleaning up and had those one-on-one conversations, which, like I mentioned in the External Relations Committee, I think I cherish the most are some of those one-on-ones after the meeting, because you can tell you inspired, you educated, and I think those are the most valuable to me. Same thing with the White Pines Park Committee. I reported that they asked me, they heard about the Historical Society presentation and they wanted that same presentation. The meeting before last, they didn't have a quorum, so we didn't do it, but the last meeting, they asked if I could do it and they loved it. Actually, those meetings are later on in the evening, so I try to speed up, and because I know everyone wants to get home for dinner, and they told me afterwards, like, please don't speed up. Tell us more. So they asked for another presentation at the next White Pines Park Committee. My last report, I mentioned the Esri story maps. That's something I'm working on right now with Haley with engineering, where we're trying to put all of our construction and CIP projects into a story map. I don't have it ready to show, but hopefully soon. It's really remarkable. Some of the other maps where I've shown how spread out our service areas are. The way the story map flows, if there's a certain project like the A to B, it'll show you where it is on the map, talk about the A to B project. We can add videos, we can add pictures. And then as you scroll through, it might go to a CIP project on the other side of the county. But as you flow through it, it was really remarkable to see it gives that context of how much projects are being done and the footprint of it. So hopefully I'll have that to show you in my next report. Arnold Library, this is something I reported on the last time that I was trying to look into. I got one scheduled for July 9th at the Arnold Library, and several of the folks that were on that board are also on the county board, and they wanted to use this as kind of a test to see, because I want to try to get into all the libraries to have just these general conversations. One of the people on the board really liked the idea, and he even said, we got to call it something like Coffee with Kelly. So that's an interesting name, but that was their idea. And then I also want to remind you guys.
Location for you there.
And then I want to remind you guys of the CSDA Calaveras chapter meeting that'll be here on July 15th. The agenda is not set yet, but just want to get that all on your radar. I recommend you guys come. I think those are really, really great meetings. So the last time we had it, the place was full. So CSDA chapter meeting, July 15th, right here.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the board? Seeing none, this informational item. Michael, you're up.
All right, I'm going to be brief. As Kelly already really covered, External Relations Committee met last week, and really good discussion there. There is a new general manager at NCPA, which is, I think the good news is somebody we're familiar with and who is very familiar with the North Fork project. He's been with NCPA for 26 years. His name is Tony Zimmer. He's a power marketing guru, and somebody who's been involved in some of our discussions. So on the plus side, it's not, the North Fork project is complex and the relationship with NCPA is complex. So it's not somebody we're going to have to, start from scratch with, which I think is great. We've always had positive interactions with Tony. I'm sure he'll be at the upcoming NCPA barbecue that you probably all have received an invite to. Randy Howard's long delayed retirement has finally commenced.
Michael, are you going to
Yes.
try and do a meeting with him and with Tony and Randy and?
No, because of because the selection ended up being internal, Randy already exited sooner than he was initially. Yeah. So I already have a meeting set up with Tony, so I'll be meeting with him here soon. The project going on right now, we had a broken intake pump at Lake Tulloch. So we've been planning for months now. The barge and the divers are out there pulling that pump out and replacing it. So kudos to our, that's a collaboration among treatment plant operators and construction workers, distribution workers, electricians, a lot of people involved in that project. It's just one of those projects that really highlights how excellent and skilled our staff are. I think it's also a good segue to the TRIDEM has a draft shoreline management plan out for public review. So we will be, submitting a comment on that. I don't anticipate us any, major criticism of their management plan. I think for the most part, we just want to emphasize the importance of Tulloch as a water supply, and the importance of that relationship there. And then other than that, I'm on vacation next week. And then I think the plan is tentatively right now, we'll cancel the next board meeting, which is typical for the first meeting in July. Of course, stand by if anything pops up, we can always put it back on the calendar or schedule a special meeting. But I think right now we're planning on canceling that first board meeting in July.
Any objection?
I object.
Very good. Russ wants to show up. The three of us don't. So
All right.
The second one?
July 8th, is it? July 8th, yeah. And that's all I have.
We still have a meeting scheduled on the 7th, though. Is that correct?
Is it engineering committee?
2x2.
Yes, 2x2s on the 7th with the county. That's right. That's all I have.
Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. I recall from not too many months ago that Kevin came to us and with a new fee structure for applications. Do you remember that? For charging developers and stuff for justifiable upcharges for the staff involvement. Do you recall doing that?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to lead into my next comment about what I have perceived over the last year or more is a lot of staff time being consumed by responding to continuing questions about the way we conduct business and explain this and explain that. And I'm just kind of throwing it out there as a topic for consideration is should we be charging for these extra hours that staff is having to put in to respond to information that is actually contained already in our reports and state required reports?
Probably couldn't do that, but I'll defer to Matt.
But if
we'd have to look at the specific circumstances, but
there's a certain illogical kind of a circle logic that people will complain about how costly it seems to be, or unnecessarily costly for CCWD's operations to be conducted. And they're contributing to the increase in costs by diverting staff time. So
I think the challenge for us is to be as efficient as possible and maybe, continue to improve our outreach and education to address that as cost effectively as possible. But
I think it's falling on deaf ears here. So.
Yeah, we have a number of processes. There's concept review applications and stuff that people can pay a small fee if they want a more complex answer to their questions.
First Amendment gives them the right to petition their government for grievances.
Okay.
Get petitioned. All right. Board comments. Russ, why don't you start this time? Anything else you want to add?
Is that a punishment or what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
I voted against you for the first time in my life.
It's okay. I get lots of people vote against me.
Um, I have a public apology to extend to you and the other members of the finance committee. As I just blew right past the last finance committee meeting, and everybody was here waiting for me, and I was elsewhere because I had to work for my sister. But anyway, I apologize for that fumbling.
I've got 5 sisters. I understand.
Okay.
Chuck?
Just a couple things. One thing I wonder if we could bring back, because there seems to be more development interest in projects on the boards now. Years ago, we used to have a report that listed in by division all the active projects and their status, not just our projects, but the development projects. I'd like to take a look at that. I think there's always interest, and a lot, I get asked questions about different developments and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know the status of them. But I mean, it would just be a couple page report of active projects, whether they were in concept review or they were in development, or if they had been finalized, just something like that. I don't know if the rest of the board is interested in that, but I get asked so many questions about it. I rarely have the answer because we don't even see it in the engineering. But that's just one thing. The other thing is hashing this up. Hopefully, the board president let me go. But a couple of the other interested parties that I would be interviewing and polling would be like the Board of Realtors, the Chamber of Commerce, the HOAs. I mean, we do a lot of stuff with HOAs. I'd sure like to see us be running this by and being able to have their comments on it. I mean, I looked up a little bit, and while there seem to be efficiencies in what Scott's proposing, from what I've read, 60 to 70% of people want a monthly billing cycle. And so, but I'm really concerned with, people in the real estate industry, people with rentals, because I see what could happen is, well, yeah, we were talking about why people charge rent, what's the rent, its availability, whatever. But also, there's a diminishing return where the landlord just sells the damn place and just gets out. And I want to make sure that if we do something, we're not creating unintended consequence. And I think by talking to some of these other folks, we can gain some insight. So that's my thought.
That's with regards to the monthly billing?
No, not monthly billing. It's the tax rolls.
That's dead.
But I think in general, we're always going to look for better, ways to improve. And I think that's a good point, that making sure we're reaching out to the proper stakeholders. Yeah, good point.
There's no point talking about the sewer. And we just told the staff not to spend their time on that.
Thank you.
Scott?
Real quick, could I adjust the first point? Because we do talk about developer projects in engineering committee. We don't separate it out that way, but I think yeah.
Well, we used to just have active projects.
Yep. 100%.
That
Yeah.
the rest of the board could see as well.
We'll work on that. Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting. Scott?
Tomorrow I have a JPIA meeting in Roseville. I think it's a workers' comp committee meeting. And on Friday morning, we have a JPIA executive committee meeting in Roseville. That's next couple things on my agenda.
There's one for Damon. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but the Emergency Operations Center for the county is a fantastic place to hold the tabletop exercise, especially if you have the caliber of people in the room that you said you were going to invite for the document, just to consider. And then second, I'd actually like to, in the record, acknowledge and thank the 3 parties that made significant contributions to the urban water management plan. That would be Francisco de la Cruz, Roxanne Freitas Souza, and the was it the Central Sierra? Sorry? CSERC. That's it.
All right, I have nothing to report. All right, we'll move on to the closed session. Is there any public comment on the closed session items? Any comment online? Friends in purple are not here to talk on this, so we will recess to closed session. We will return to close out the meeting afterwards. Thank you.